Hey guys, welcome to A Counselor's Journey to Private Practice. I am here with Michelle Hardman, and she actually has a private practice right near me, and it's in Cary, North Carolina. Now, if you know me, I'm in Greensboro. Hers is called the Primed Practice, which I really like that name. I don't know why it reminds me of like prime paint, but I know it's not about
Oh,
prime paint.
yeah.
So Michelle,
Yeah.
welcome. How are you?
Great. How are you doing, Juan?
Doing good, doing good.
Good.
I got the giggles because God, before we started this interview, I was asking her how does my audio sound, because I got a new mic, and she was sharing that she got a new mic too. So I found that really funny.
Yeah, coincidence, right? I guess that's what we do when we're in shelter in place mode.
Yeah, yeah. And now we've got this coronavirus, and I know a lot of you out there. Hope that you're safe. I hope that you're doing well. Michelle and I kind of got into the topic of what that's been like. I know parenting wise, not cool sometimes. How
Yeah,
about for you?
yeah. It's funny. I don't have any kids of my own, but my husband and I are both trying to work, and we have a dog who's, let's just say, high maintenance.
Oh, yeah, sounds like my dog.
So, yeah. So I feel your pain in the four-legged realm.
Yeah, yeah, no, my dog, his name is Riddle, and
Oh, I love it.
we got him at the pound on discount, but we were lied
Nice.
to because shortly after that, we found out that he is high maintenance. He requires a lot of medications and
Oh,
ointments.
wow.
No,
Uh-huh.
but
Oh boy.
he's an awesome dog. He lets our kids just like
Nice.
jump all over him.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that.
Perfect.
The other stuff I always find humorous as far as how we got them at a discount, and then
Of
now,
course.
yeah. So yeah,
Never fails.
no long story there.
Yeah.
Michelle, I wanted to have you on here because you have this really beautiful background. I know you do a lot of work connected to Brene Brown, and
Mhm.
you've got your MBA, right?
Yep.
A background in business, and the
Yeah.
audience here is mental health professionals, counselors, and their journey of private practice. Making changes,
Hmm.
creating innovation, curiosity. I really want to
Yeah.
pick your brain as far as anyone out there. What are things that you think they should look at? How should they approach building not just a private practice, but their ideal
Yeah.
version of a private practice?
Yeah, I think it's such a great question, Juan, because, as I tell clinicians that I do business coaching with, is, they don't teach us this stuff in grad school. So
Mm,
we get out, we've got this amazing, like, clinical skills toolkit, and we go out and we're ready to rock and roll. But then when we open our private practice, we can kind of get deer in the headlights a little bit and freeze up because there's so much of that that's so unknown. And, in some cases it may even prevent us from stepping into that private practice dream because it's like, well, I don't know that, or I didn't learn this, or the thing I hear all the time is I'm not good at selling myself. I don't
yeah,
like the numbers part of things. So I think, for me, because I'm a certified Daring Way facilitator, and we were kind of chuckling too, because we're both big Brene Brown fans.
yeah,
A lot of my business coaching is rooted in some of Brene's work in that, I start business coaching from values base. So really getting folks back in touch with their why, and then exploring what are your core values, and then how do we build a business on top of that, right? So that when
yeah,
we're talking about it, I don't feel like I'm selling you something. I'm just sharing some authentic wisdom about my experience and how I can help you with your pain points. It doesn't feel so schmoozy, to be
yeah.
technical, if that makes
Absolutely.
sense.
No, it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. I think about the clinical field, and I'll sit down with
Yeah.
the patient, and then we're looking at values. We
Hmm.
look at values because values, if you're able to say, my value is as a family, that will
Right.
drive the person to make change versus I
That's
just
right.
want to be present for my family. So I love
That's
that
right.
you're utilizing that orientation. And then as far as like
Thanks.
grad school, absolutely. I have no recollection of any course in grad school that was like, here's the difference between an MPI 1 and 2. Or during the summers,
Oh, no.
you're going to have probably a drop in patients. So this is how you hustle. Or here's some passive
Absolutely.
income ideas. None of that.
Right? Right. Diversify, like, yeah, none of it. I sometimes will ask, when I'm in a group setting or doing speaking engagements, and I'll say, what was your favorite business class when you were in grad school?
Oh, that's messed
And
up.
of course, it's like there's crickets, right? Like
I
there
bet.
wasn't one. So it's really, I feel sad because we get such an amazing, robust education,
Hmm.
but there's this piece for those of us that are interested in private practice, right? That are really hungry and need those other bits of tools to really be successful in our private practice journey. So and I love talking with clinicians starting at that values based place, because like you said, Juan, we do so often talk about these very things with our clients and our patients. And I love being able to connect us sort of back to our roots. Like, we're passionate about this work, but it's also applicable in how our own fear shows up in trying to have our own business and have, money to live off of. Because, most of us didn't open a private practice to be volunteers. I mean, there's a
Correct.
time and a place for pro bono and volunteer work, but most of us need to make a living.
Yeah, and in that last message, it really collides with, I think, a lot of the mental health foundation of, you're an
Yeah,
advocate, part of our professional identity, right? Through even CAC-REP
that's right.
accredited programs.
Yep,
ACA, it's professional identity. You got these core areas. One of them is you're an advocate.
that's
Advocating
right.
is a lot of pro bono work. Earlier, you
Yes.
mentioned that, in private practice, we're not taught a lot of the business concept. And, I find that
Hmm.
even if individuals are not in private practice and they're like in a mental health agency, there's still that knowledge maybe that you have that's able to support them as far as here's the clinical skills that you have. And let's say you
Yeah,
wanted a side hustle, like create a book, or
that's
like you
right.
did, the prime
Yeah.
calendar that you have.
The Prime Planner, yeah,
Yeah,
sit right back
exactly.
there.
Yeah, I love that. Being able
Thanks.
to cultivate your education and knowledge to create such a product. So tell me from
Yeah.
your end, as far as like when you're working with a clinician out there in their journey, what are
Hmm.
typical fears that you see?
Oh man, one of the things that I hear the most often is just like this blanket paralyzing fear, right? It's a lot of times centered around fear about going out of network if someone's interested in that, or if they're
Yes.
not going out of network, like how do I manage my rates, or how do I, fear around holding boundaries for late late cancels, no shows, so some of it's fear around, kind of all things monetary to,
Mhm.
to kind
Yeah,
of put it in a one bucket. And then there's a lot of fear and shame I hear too, Juan, around this idea that I have to sell myself. Like this idea that I have to convince you to come see me for your counseling. And I really understand it. I really understand it because, again, this is a huge gap that's missed in our training in, when we're in grad school. And, but here's the thing, y'all, we are learners, right? We have
yes,
gotten advanced degrees. We can learn some stuff, right?
that's right.
So this is like, I love the idea of like looking at yourself as a clinician, as a learner and a relationship professional, right? We
Mm,
sit in a room every day and we cultivate this relationship with these
mhm,
people across from us. And if you can take those two things and put them together and think about, okay, so I'm going to learn some stuff about business and I'm going to learn what's in my way, and then I'm going to put some action to it, right? And because I'm a relationship professional, I can do that. Then I kind of take this, I call it the AKA approach, right? Awareness, knowledge, action,
Okay.
right? So like how can we start to move through that then, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really cool to see the movement start happening, right? But the fear, like you hit the nail on the head, the most overarching thing is fear. And that's another reason why starting with core values, we start to really find our guiding light and
Mhm.
how we can navigate some of these rough waters when fear's got us, because it gets us sometimes.
It does, yeah. And those fears that you mentioned, I mean, I was checking boxes. I was like, yes, I remember not
Yep.
wanting to charge late cancellation because I was so worried that they would say, well,
Yeah,
I'll just go somewhere else.
that's
Um,
right. Sure.
and it's something that is not taught in graduate school. Instead,
Mm-mm.
we're taught a very healthy level, which I'm so appreciative of
Yeah.
kindness, compassion, empathy,
Yeah.
understanding. So I would be very
Hmm.
understanding. I would say, it's okay, no
Yeah.
worries. But then at home, right, on that business brain goes in, Juan, you got to pay bills. Juan,
Right.
you
Right.
got you got to pay your rent and license,
Absolutely.
etc. So it's creating that
Absolutely.
balance between both sides.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say you're exactly right. I mean, I have those same things too, because like I don't want to sit here and pretend like it doesn't happen to me. One of the examples I always give to people is like when I get ready to send out my newsletter, like I have to sit on it for a good 24, sometimes even 48 hours because like it's authentic, right? Like I'm vulnerable when I send out a newsletter. You're vulnerable when you say, "Hey, I got to hold tight to my late cancellation fee." Like
Hmm.
it's so scary. So, I struggle with all those same things too, but again, sort of going back to like what that core value is and what's leading you in your heart, then it becomes an and proposition. How can I, hold this boundary and, still be empathetic and an advocate? Because I believe you absolutely can do it.
Yeah. What does that look like? I know I'm picking a little bit deep there, but it's that's
No,
me,
that's
and that's
okay.
okay. And I,
It's for me personally, the example about late cancellation is a good one because um, I struggled with that a little bit at first too, but my two core values are authenticity and gratitude. And so I'm really grateful and I can express that, I feel like, very clearly to the people that I work with, whether that's on the clinical side in my, private practice or whether that's in the primed practice where I'm working with clinicians on the business coaching. But honestly, Juan, to me, it can be really simple, right? Like the authenticity value for me shows up in that conversation that says, like, I really appreciate that things can happen sometimes. And I give everybody a freebie once a year because Lord knows I have forgotten my appointment with my own therapist at times. Like it happens.
yes. Yeah.
So everybody gets a freebie, but then after that, I'm going to hold you accountable for your slot because other people also would like that slot. And I really feel compelled to make sure it gets, the best use that it can and that people that want to have the time can have it. So for me, the authenticity sort of helps balance, okay, I can hold the fee, right? And hold
Yeah.
you accountable, but I can also be gracious when life happens. And of course, if you're sick or something, like I get it. I'm not
Yeah.
going to charge you for that. But does that make sense? Like
It does.
how it can
Yeah.
kind of balance?
And I think it connects very much to the foundation of clinicians, because
Mm-hmm.
for me, if I'm listening to that, that answers my questions. It lets me, in a compassionate way, provide that level of advocacy of, hey, patient person, right? Um,
Right.
the first one is on the house, if you will, and then that
That's
can
right.
really make me feel good that I'm providing not just a good service, but a good deed, if you will. And
Right.
then I get time to send emails out or reiterate the message of late cancellation, which builds
Yeah.
that strength on that
Yep.
entrepreneur mindset,
Yeah.
until we meet a certain conversation where it needs to take place. I've done the work,
That's
my
right.
values built. So I love
Mm-hmm.
that versus just do it.
Right. Because we could go out there. I mean, you and I both know we could go out there and find a half a dozen or dozen or more, if you just did a quick Google, like do these 5 things for a successful private practice and top 3 things you can't miss. And, there's some validity to all that. Like, I don't want to poo poo any of that. But at the same time, right, it's really what is that? Do these 5 things or top 3 ideas if it doesn't resonate with me and like how I'm wired and how I'm built, because, we don't check our core values at the door, as Brene Brown says, right? Like
Hmm.
they're with us. And so to be able to build a business on top of that, and not do just the flashy top 5 things, right? Like I
Yeah.
think that's really important. And it's a really good filter to attract the people, your ideal client or your ideal patient. That message is going to resonate and then you don't have to sell yourself, right? Like they're going
Yeah.
to hear it and pick up on it and be like, oh, Juan's my guy, right?
Yeah.
Or by the same token, they might hear it and go, ugh, no
Hmm.
way.
Yeah.
um, One of my favorite stories I've told people is I had a primary care physician who refers to me a lot. She gave me this I visit her like, once a year and just kind of make an in-face visit for a few minutes. And she's like, I got to tell you, I tried to get one of my patients to come see you and I gave her your card. And on my business card is my photo. Cause again, authenticity, here's a
Yep.
snapshot of who you're going to work with. Right. She's like, she threw your card down. She's like, I can't work with her. She smiles too much. And I was like, okay, good, right? Like
Hmm.
so it not only attracts the right people, but it repels the wrong people. And
Yes.
so I think that's it's okay to repel the wrong people, right?
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, I think that speaks volumes because if you're, repelling the wrong people, if you will, in a way you're
Hmm.
supporting, you're letting them know that we may
Absolutely.
not be a good fit. I want to kind of tie this into, and I know you have that freebie on your site, but I want to push a little
Hmm.
bit more if I can, as far as
Yeah.
the elevator speech.
Yeah.
I think a lot of clinicians, and I'll see beautiful ones, but also see some
Hmm.
out there as far as I provide EMDR or CBT. And
Yep.
I like this statement because I find it a little bit humorous, right? Like no one's sitting at night at 3 a.m. going, man, I need some really good CBT right now.
You're so right.
Yeah.
You're so right. You're so right. Yeah, the elevator speech. Yeah, if you sign up for my newsletter on my website, you can get a free copy of the elevator cheat sheet, I call it. And it's just a quick 1-page document to help you kind of really start turning your wheels around what's your elevator talk like. Because, you think of a short elevator ride, you've got this very narrow window of time to express what you do, right?
Hmm.
And so, and we hear like, I tell people, what's your name? Because when we get flustered, we've all done it, right? At a conference and we get flustered to meet somebody and we forget to tell them our name. We can give them the whole spiel, right? But I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm Michelle Hardman. That's an
Yeah.
important part. But the idea that, what do you do? And it is, what do you do? What are your skills? But I tell people, try to create a message that again is rooted in your core values. And so that you can, it doesn't feel so salesy, right? As the person delivering the message and as the person receiving the message,
Hmm.
right? It's a lot, it feels a lot more from the heart. And I think anytime we can speak from that space, it's just exponentially more helpful for everybody involved. So in the one sheet that you can get off of my newsletter sign up, I go through like, make sure you're checking in on your core values, but what do you do? How can you help? Think of the pain points that you
Yeah.
can help. What's it going to be like for them after they've worked with you or talked with you? And I think you can have a couple of different versions, one for a potential client or potential patient, and then maybe one for a potential referral source.
Okay. And a lot of the literature I've seen on elevator speech connect to like your avatar, your ideal client. So let's say your ideal client
Yes.
is someone that struggles with anxiety. It could be I
Right.
help anxious people. I really love that you interconnect it to, well, what's your value first? Like, let's kind of start from the ground level of your authentic, vulnerable self, value
Yeah.
driven, and then let's look at
Yeah.
that avatar. So, would that elevator
Yes.
speech were look a little bit different for that person that helps individuals with anxiety?
I think it might look and sound different. But again, it kind of depends on who's giving it because, for me, with my two core values is authenticity and gratitude, that might sound really different than somebody whose two core values are knowledge and success, right?
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
still could be really both compelling elevator speeches, but they might sound different. And it's subtle differences, but I think the nuance is different again when you start thinking about who's that going to resonate with.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think, it even sounds like if individuals and counselors out there are able to identify that value, that whenever they're giving the elevator speech, it's going to reduce fear and insecurity. I know I
Absolutely.
certainly felt that, early on where I would give an elevator
Yeah,
speech, but I would struggle to say it with confidence. And then over time
exactly.
got into, okay, what are the values? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And then the elevator
Yeah.
speech spilled out just with a really strong level of comfort.
Yes, absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head. Absolutely. Because when it's rooted in that way, then it doesn't feel like, oh gosh, what was the next sentence, right?
Yeah.
You're just speaking about something you're passionate about and how you want to help. And it's not this mechanical, I don't want to say false because they're not false, but like it's not uncomfortable or it's not as uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
I remember to me it felt like I was being trained
Yes.
versus I was part of the training process.
Yes.
I was there
I
with
love
it.
that.
Yeah, it's almost like
Yeah.
I had my handout with writing on there, and then I'm reading it for
Yeah.
the elevator speech.
Yes. Da, 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 da,
Definitely,
da.
yeah, do not do that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, don't do
that
that.
could be a good comic
um,
skit there.
oh my gosh, right? Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I think it's, and you kind of touched on another really important thing, and that is in all of this, sort of how do we hold ourselves accountable? And that's the other thing that I love about doing values-based coaching with clinicians, or creating elevator speeches and saying, "Hey, don't forget your core values,"
Yeah, yeah.
is that it's clearer, I think, somehow to hold ourselves accountable, and we've written it down, right? I'm a big proponent of writing things down, whether that's, on the
Yeah.
computer, actually longhand. But, and that's one of the reasons I created the Primed Planner, because I wanted a planner. Sure, a calendar is great, but like I wanted to have a tool where clinicians could get re-engaged regularly with self-care, networking, reaching out to people, getting a little bit, have some gentle prompts to get outside of our comfort zones and really start thinking about what our plan is for our business and what that looks like, and how to, keep ourselves accountable and remember, like, oh, I wrote this down. I really want to do this for myself.
Yeah. So this planner, like break it down
Hmm.
for me because I like it. So it sounds like it's
Sure.
this partner of accountability where it's saying, Juan, here's some goals and objectives you have based on the ones
Yeah.
that you created, maybe more patients, higher income, passive
Sure.
ideas. And then
Yep.
it works with me versus, I get a really good endorphin high and I've got all these ideas about my practice.
Right.
But next thing you
Right.
know,
Right.
I'm on the trampoline jumping with the kids and forgot all about
Absolutely. It happens to all of us, Juan.
Thank
I
you. Thank
promise.
you for that.
Yeah, I find myself on Amazon like, oh yeah, I wanted to get fill in the blank. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the Primed Planner actually has an annual component that's at the beginning of the planner. And this is the 2020 was the first year. So it was super exciting. I'd never
Oh,
published
awesome.
anything. So like it was terrifying, but super fun. So I put in an annual component where you look at, kind of write down your core values, think about things that energize you, that deplete you, thinking about self-care and thinking about different components of your business, right? So operationally, kind of day in, day out, nuts and bolts kind of stuff. What's your overall vision, the financial part, the marketing part? Um, so there's a couple pages in the beginning to sort of set the stage for the year, and then there's a page for some quarterly planning, quarterly goals, both personal and professional. And then every quarter, at the end of every quarter, there's a page where you do, it's called a quarterly curiosity, where you check
Mm,
in and you kind of just see how things went.
yeah.
And then, of course, there's a schedule in there for the week. There's a monthly calendar layout, but there's also a planning calendar, or excuse me, a planning layout every month to have you sort of assess how last month went and where do you want to go this month, and making sure you're not overloading yourself, making sure self-care is really forefront of mind, and
Yeah.
then giving you a space to look at actuals and goals if you want to track it, in that detail. And some people like all those pieces, and some people
Yeah.
are like, I just like these three.
Hmm.
And that's okay either way. I built it so that there'll be a planner every year that's dated, but there's also some printable downloads on my website that are not dated, and you could, get them once and then just print them as you need them. So it gives you a lot of flexibility.
Wow. I mean, that's such a beautiful
Yeah,
product. What have you seen as
thanks.
far as like the participants that have utilized it? Also, double
Hmm.
question, is
Yeah.
this something where, someone is doing consultation with you and then they jump on that, or it could be used without the consultation component?
It could absolutely be used in conjunction with consultation. It could be used without. So when I'm coaching with people, I encourage them to have some sort of repository, whether that's online or their own planner they've already got. Or if they're looking for options, certainly that could be one, but you could absolutely use it, no question, without being
Awesome.
coached by me. And every once in a while, I'll put some videos out too and kind of show my self planning or talk through it. So you could absolutely use it. It's built with the spirit of keeping clinicians engaged in the business of private practice,
Okay.
and it's flexible enough that you can use it and kind of make it your own depending on how you operate.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of? I've done
What's that?
mastermind groups before. I've been a participant in them,
Uh-huh.
and it reminds me
Hmm.
of that component. And I know, like me being in a mastermind group, there were times where I needed a lot of hand holding, and then there were
Yes.
times where I needed more of the accountability. So something that sticks out to
Yep.
me with the Prime Planner, right? With
Yep.
with the Prime Planner is it's like this book, right? That's your mastermind where
Yeah.
you go into it with the objective of, cultivating growth within your
Hmm.
practice. And then
Hmm.
you keep a relationship with it, week to week,
That's
month
right.
to month, year to year, and you get to see how you're
Absolutely.
doing, which is exactly
Right.
why I wanted to go into the mastermind group. I wanted to make sure that had goals, objectives. I was able to achieve them, but I had a layout on how I was able to do that.
Yes, yes,
Awesome.
so much yes. High
Yeah, virtual. How?
five. Yes, that's the thing. And that's why, so I'm a planner like junkie. I've loved planners since I was literally like a child, like small child. And so it's something that for me was a creative outlet. But, again, I'm so passionate about, of all the things that could make a business fail, I don't want fear to be the thing that causes it to not work. Right.
Yeah.
And so, especially for clinicians, because most of us got into this business because we have a really powerful why. And something like a planner, I think, can be such a good accountability partner. And I wanted, it's got some kind of whimsy, it's very colorful and it's got lots of sort of whimsy drawings in it. And I just wanted clinicians, exactly as you just said, Juan, to stay engaged. Because what happens is that we get fearful and then
Yes.
we say, oh, I don't really want to do a newsletter. I don't really want to come up with that marketing thing. Oh, I don't want to go to that networking thing. And we get in our own way. And so if the planner can serve as a less intimidating, maybe
Hmm.
accountability partner that you can sort of do at your own pace and use the pieces that you need, and use it how you need it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love what you're doing, and I
Thank
see the
you.
mix in there, or like the sprinkles of Brene Brown everywhere.
Yes.
It's definitely in the work that you're doing. Whenever you said the why, I wanted to just
Hmm.
stop, and I was like, you're right. Like so many of us, we know why we want to do it. I mean, I could share a dissertation of why I love helping people. And
Yeah.
it's almost like we need to get that why and we need to transfer it over to the fear, because the fear is going to be there. When your practice is getting low on numbers, fearful.
Yeah,
When your
absolutely.
referrals retires, fearful. But that why, you just toss it over to that fear, and I think it could tame it.
Yeah.
And then I love that
Yeah.
planner because it stays alive. Sometimes we get so
Yeah.
busy with whatever we're doing in life that we forget, what was my goal? What were my objectives?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the fear can take it over sometimes. So I think you're absolutely right. It's really exciting work that we do, and we can get disconnected from the why
Hmm.
and those values when the fear takes over, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. We're well versed in the
Yes.
neurobiology of how that works, right? And it
Yeah.
can happen with us too. So, how do what kind of tools do we need to get through this? So again, I always go back to like my AKA, right? Awareness, knowledge, action. And so the planner can help also break that action into small bites. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I got to rewrite all the marketing copy on my web page. No, 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 no. Let's do like little bites, right? Like I'm a big Gottman fan, right? When I do
Yes.
couples work. And so, how he says small things often,
Hmm.
same thing for our business, small things often.
Yeah. A
Yeah.
lot of great nuggets you're giving out.
Thanks.
Before we close up,
Yeah.
if individuals are out there, mental health professionals, and they want to be able to work with you, they want to learn more about the Prime Planner, how can they contact you?
Sure. So you can contact me through the Primed Practice website. There's a contact page. You can also contact me at grow at the primed practice via email. So grow at theprimedpractice.com is my email. And Michelle at Michelle Hardman is also my email. So any of those ways are super easy to get in touch with me. And I would love to offer, I do free 20-minute pick my brain sessions. So I love connecting and meeting new clinicians all over the place. So I'm always encouraging folks to give me a call and tell me what's on your mind, and we'll pick it at it for a minute.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, definitely do that. I think whenever we said a 20-minute free consultation, right, I mean, what we do as clinicians, right? Call the clinician for 15 to 20 minutes, see if they're a good fit,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then take that journey. So, if you're out there in
Yeah.
your journey of private
Absolutely.
practice, give Michelle a call. It's 20 minutes, see if it's able to get you from A to B, or at least thinking about
Yeah.
how to get from A to B.
Yeah.
Michelle,
Love it.
thank you for being here. I'm really appreciative of this time and this opportunity to really have
Yeah.
with you.
Absolutely. I so love it. So thank you so much for the invitation, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right, take care.
Thanks. You too.